Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of the Overdrive Files, and please do me a favor, click that like and subscribe button. That way you can stay up to date on all future videos. And I know it's been a little bit since my last one, I apologize, but I promise back to sort of get back into the routine, whether it's movie reviews or the occasional like movie news segment, which I think I'm going to be doing more and more lately. There just doesn't seem to be that many movies coming up in the next several months that I'm really that interested in. Kind of a disappointment. But anyway, let's get into some news here. First up, we have a little bit of a disappointment here. James Bond No Time to Die release delayed due to the coronavirus outbreak. This movie was supposed to come out in the next month or so. Unfortunately, due to the virus, the studio and the producers have decided to push this thing back to November, the more traditional release time for the James Bond franchise, which in all honesty, I don't really care. I mean, sure, I was looking forward to seeing this movie in like the next month and a half, but I mean, it doesn't really make me that upset that they're pushing it back to November. It is it is what it is, and I'm still looking forward to this movie. I did read, and I don't know how true what I heard was, but I thought I read something along the lines of that Rami Malek's character, who's playing the villain in No Time to Die, has something to do with like creating a virus and releasing it upon the world. Like that's one of his kind of like his goals in the movie, like that's what he's trying to do. I could be wrong. I read that somewhere, and you know, a lot of the reasons why some movies are being delayed is because China and Southeast Asia, they don't have movie theaters open, and they're a massive part of the overall box office. And you know, if they don't have those theaters open, these movies can miss out on a lot of cash. But I mean, I'm looking forward to this movie. It's unfortunate we have to wait like 8 months or whatever it is. But you know, this movie looks absolutely fantastic. You know, it's one last go around for Daniel Craig as James Bond. So I think he's really going to give it his all. Next up here, we've got Matt Reeves dropping the Batman Batmobile. Okay, so I know there's fans out there that are still holding on to the Ben Affleck Batman and that version of, you know, the Snyderverse, all that stuff. And I'm right there with you. Like, still, I think Man of Steel is still my favorite DCEU movie. You know, I absolutely love Batman v Superman, the Ultimate Edition. I find myself rewatching that movie more and more. I honestly had it on like 2 nights ago. You know, we're seeing more and more info come out, whether it's like Ben Affleck talking about like what it was like working on Batman v Superman, and you know, not really liking the whole production process of Justice League and falling into alcoholism again. And, you know, we're finally getting to hear his sort of side of the story and why he decided to step away. But, you know, I'm fully on board with this Matt Reeves Batman movie. I think like the last 2 Planet of the Apes movies are absolutely phenomenal. Like War for the Planet of the Apes was like it was like the Shawshank Redemption with monkeys, you know what I mean? And I just love those movies so much, and I cannot wait to see what this guy's going to bring to the table in like this Batman universe. And I don't know like how tied these are, like how connected this movie will be with the rest of the franchise, being that this is an entirely different Batman. But you know, we've seen some costume stuff over the last few weeks, and Matt Reeves finally dropped some nice photos of the Batmobile. And you know, it's a very different version. It's more of like a muscle car, like hot rodded version. You know, the last several years, over the last decade and a half, since Batman Begins, we've gotten these like, and with like the Ben Affleck era, we've gotten these like tanks, you know, and this is definitely, you know, this is the size of a sports car, like a modded out, like, I don't know if it's like a Dodge Charger or like a Ford Mustang, whatever the hell this thing is. It looks badass. You know, there's a lot of memes going around like it's like out of a Fast and Furious movie, which I won't disagree with. I mean, I would fully expect to see something like this in Fast and Furious 9, you know, with Dominic Toretto swinging his muscle car off a cliff from a vine. But like, I just think it looks rad, man. It's a different sort of vibe. And just by these photos, like, look at how much, and I don't know if these are like stills from the camera, like from the actual film, or are these just like a set photographer, like, is this guy like standing up on a ladder looking down at Robert Pattinson and the Batmobile? Or are these like actually like cut out from the movie and like posted online? I'm not really sure, but just like look at how much, just like the atmosphere, the lighting, it just like, you would never see shit like this in the MCU. Never. I mean, Scott Derrickson tries to make somewhat of a horror movie with Doctor Strange 2, and the guy steps away for creative differences. So you just never see something like this in the MCU. Not that there are some good visuals in the MCU, but it's just they all kind of have I don't know. It's just they can only do so much, I guess. But I mean, I just absolutely love this. And, you know, we even get a good look at the costume. You can see here, he's definitely wearing, and you have to zoom up. I can't zoom it up for you guys right now, but he's actually wearing like military pants, which is kind of odd. You know, normally it's been like leather or like plated stuff. And it kind of looks a little bit weird, but I mean, I dig it, man. It works for me. I'm interested to see like not only how this thing moves and drives and sounds, but like I want to see Robert Pattinson like standing or sitting behind the wheel, like driving, because it feels like a regular car, just like souped up. But like I want to see, are they going to do like a shot shooting into the windshield and he's just like driving a regular car? I don't know. But I did post on Twitter, like, this is definitely a Batmobile you can take through the drive-through. To quote the great Val Kilmer Batman from Batman Forever. But I'm digging this, man. I think it looks good. Definitely looks reminiscent of the Adam West Batman stuff, you know, especially the fender there. Definitely has kind of a vintage car feel. But yeah, I'm down for it. I want to hear this. I want to listen to what this thing sounds like, man. It looks really cool. Definitely different, and I think that was probably the appropriate move rather than having like a, I don't know, like some Hummer-esque vehicle, some massive tank. And who knows, maybe if they have a second and third movie, we'll see sort of an evolution of this vehicle here. So really looking forward to it. Okay, so up next, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is coming from Collider. Everybody was reporting this news. But the Rise of Skywalker novelization reveals that Rey's dad was a Palpatine clone. Now, several days ago, it came out that Palpatine in the Rise of Skywalker was indeed a clone himself. Like somehow in Return of the Jedi, when he fell down the shaft, Vader throws him down the shaft, the Sith cult, and along with probably Palpatine, somehow figuring a way to cheat death. a la Plagueis. You know, we hear that quote in Revenge of the Sith. Somehow found a way to cheat death, and along with this Sith cult, put Palpatine in this this clone body. Well, and we also see in The Rise of Skywalker that Snoke was some version of a, I don't know if he was a clone or if he was just created like a test tube baby. I'm not really sure. Some of that information would have been nice in the movie, but anyway, it turns out that Rey's dad was indeed a failed clone himself. So let me see here if I can find it. Okay, so it's more accurate to say that Palpatine is Rey's half-dad rather than her grandpa. How all of this works exactly is unclear, as whether it was intended to be a part of the film version of Rise of Skywalker. We know that J.J. Abrams worked pretty extensively on the edit, removing portions of Palpatine's backstory, so it's possible the reveal was intended to occur within the context of the movie and then was removed for creative reasons, in which we can't really say that this is actually true canon for the movie. Yes, it's in the novelization, but Abrams removed it from the film for a reason. But this is a peek inside the creative process of coming up with that reveal in the first place, and a potential path from which Abrams backed away. So, from what I've gathered and read sort of across the internet, is that this Sith cult was creating multiple clones of Palpatine, and even the one in The Rise of Skywalker, that clone was not strong enough to support Sheev Palpatine's essence, I guess. That's why his fingers are all curled and he's decaying. He looks like he's dying. And that's why in The Rise of Skywalker, he wants to sort of put his essence into Rey so that he can, you know, carry on. So it is what it is. But I mean, I just hate the fact that, and obviously, like this article says, there's probably some creative differences that they have a reason to not include that in the movie. But it's just, I hate finding out about this sort of stuff after the fact. And especially that, you know, well, if Palpatine's a clone, then just tell us. Instead of giving us some like vague statement reiterating from a previous movie as a line of dialogue. But I don't know. It just irks me a little bit and just makes me a little bit more disappointed with the movie than I already was. And, you know, it's not the end of the world. And who knows, maybe I'll come around to this movie in the next year or two and I'll enjoy it more and more, especially once it comes out on home video. I'll probably rewatch it and maybe it'll sit better with me. But I don't know. I just hate learning about this type of stuff when it's just so small. Like one sentence or a sentence or two could just deliver an explanation to us, and I don't know, it just make it easier to follow the movie. But it is what it is. But guys, let me know your thoughts. Okay, so the last bit of news I have here is HBO's working on a Last of Us series. For those of you who don't know or never played, The Last of Us was a video game series. I think I guess it's just one video game, but they're working on the second one. I don't think it's out yet. I think pretty soon, but it's one of the most critically acclaimed video games of the last, I don't know, probably 10 years or so. Definitely came out during the time where, I guess, during this whole like Walking Dead post this like zombie apocalypse like era. And it almost feels like The Walking Dead has destroyed the zombie franchise. It really does. And I think this The Last of Us series for HBO could be a breath of fresh air. I love zombie movies. Like Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. Say what you will about Zack Snyder. I'm a fan of his work, but I know there's people out there that sort of just dismiss it. But I still think like his Dawn of the Dead movie is one of the best horror movies of like the last several years. I think it came out in like 2005 or 2004, somewhere around that time. And I love that movie. It's so well done. And it's just, I definitely think there's still room for a modern, like, these like post-apocalyptic, like zombie stories. I just like with The Walking Dead, like once that show got to the point where like, I don't even remember at this point, like they were living in like an abandoned housing community. And then like I turned the TV on, I don't know if it was like a year or two ago. And there's this like guy with dreadlocks sitting in a chair with like a lion or tiger next to him. And it's just like, oh my God. I know this is based on a graphic novel, but come on. This is just unrealistic. What is this guy? Siegfried or Roy? Like, who does he think he is? But the really interesting thing about this whole thing and what actually makes me excited about it is that the people that produced Chernobyl on HBO, which came out, I think like May or June of last year, somewhere around that time, are producing this, and they're going to be the showrunners. And Chernobyl was just one of the best shows of last year. It was just absolutely phenomenal. And I don't recall if they're going to be making more seasons of that show. I think it was just kind of like a mini series, but I'm really looking forward to that show, or I guess this show with those producers involved. And I think it could be something truly spectacular. But I want to ask you guys, like, who do you think they should cast as these characters? I've seen some memes, or I guess not memes, but just some like fan casting photos where they've like photoshopped, was it Nikolai Coster-Waldau as the dad, and what's her, one of the girls from Booksmart as I think Ellie. Yeah, Joel and Ellie. So who would you like them to cast for Joel and Ellie? Let me know down below. But guys, that's it for this episode of the Overdrive Files. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to let me know your thoughts down below, and make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.